Hello and welcome to another video on our Long Haul by Simple Flying YouTube channel. My name is Matthew and I've been the voice of these videos since we started this channel in July 2020. Today we're going to be trying something a little different, something that you might say is ultra long haul. That's because we're adapting our 30-ish minute podcast into a video for you to watch. While some channels just post podcast recordings along with a waveform animation, we'll be adding visuals and additional information on screen so that there's more information than what you're hearing. In addition to commenting with your reactions to the various stories discussed in this video, do let us know your thoughts on this type of format and if it's something you'd like to see more of. Anyway, without further delay, here is Simple Flying Managing Editor Tom Boone, along with Simple Flying Senior Editor and Lead Journalist Channing Reed.
Hello, my name's Tom Boone.
And I'm Channing Reed.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Simple Flying Podcast, where we'll give you the lowdown on the latest news from the world of commercial aviation. Here's what we have for you this week.
I'll talk about Boeing's new door plug design for the 737 MAX before Tom covers the impact of Qatar Airways' brief shutdown.
Channing will then talk about how Southwest Airlines could soon have airport lounges, premium seating, and long-haul flights, while I look at the latest crazy status challenge.
And finally, I'll explore how Southwest Airlines' initiative to prevent a bizarre but painful in-flight catering problem is in full swing.
So now you know what's in store, let's get on with the show. And Channing, what's been going on with this door plug redesign at Boeing? How easy is it to even redesign a door plug?
Yeah, that's really the question that a lot of people are asking. It's also raising a lot of eyebrows among some people too, because we know about this incident that happened with Alaska Airlines back in January of 2024, and the investigation has been ongoing. And we know that they grounded the 737 MAX 9 worldwide because of this issue, and then they were cleared to go back into service. So now, hearing the news about a door plug redesign, some people are asking questions about really what this all is about and when we will start to see these changes. So this report coming from Flight Global, Boeing and Spirit AeroSystems, which is the supplier of its 737 fuselages, they completed engineering work for design change to the 737 MAX mid-cabin door plugs. Now, this is part of Boeing's efforts to prevent a repeat of the very high-profile January 2024 Alaska Airlines in-flight door plug blowout. Now, this comes amid the ongoing investigation from the NTSB into this incident, and we are now learning a little bit more about how the NTSB is, how it gathered its details with this investigation, and really its direction and moving forward. Earlier this week, Simple Flying reported on how the NTSB chair, Jennifer Homendy, said, quote, "I have lots of questions about where the FAA was during the entire incident and the aftermath of the incident." And the NTSB was also scrutinizing Boeing as well. The board criticized the plane maker's safety culture and its failure to install 4 key bolts on the new narrow-body aircraft. During its recent meeting, Homendy said that the incident was entirely avoidable, as Boeing should have addressed unauthorized production work long ago that was discovered in several internal audits, reports, quality alerts, and regulatory compliance issues. Now, Homendy has raised many questions about the FAA's oversight, highlighting that the incident should have never occurred. She added that an incident like this could really only happen if there are multiple systemic failures. She said, quote, "The safety deficiencies that led to this accident should have been evident to Boeing and the FAA. It's nothing short of a miracle that no one died or sustained serious physical injuries." And that is very true. Now, earlier this week on June 24th, the NTSB again with their investigation. We learned that Boeing will start equipping their new jets with the design changes in 2026 and then issue a service bulletin calling for in-service jets to be equipped with the update. NTSB investigator Clint Cruikshank said, as of June 2025, the engineering design enhancement has been completed, and Boeing and Spirit are continuing certification, planning, and compliance work that includes notification to the FAA. So there are 6 additional safety features that are added to this door plug. The first is a new retention for the arm assemblies to the door. This will prevent the plug from translating upward and becoming misaligned from the fuselage stop fittings. Then the retention arm is not, if it's not properly in the stowed position, it will interfere with the installation of the interior sidewall panel. We're also looking at enhanced primary retention features. 4 existing bolts securing the plug to the fuselage will now permanently be attached to the plug via safety wire lanyard, and those lanyards allow for plug installation and removal, but will provide visual indications if the bolts are not installed. There are other, as I said, 6 safety features to this, and those other ones are, again, really focused on making sure that this incident doesn't happen again. But we should mention that the 737 MAX is not the only aircraft that has this door plug. More specifically, it is the MAX 9 and the MAX 8-200, and as well as the 737-900ER. And we did learn that Boeing is planning on making these enhancements to the 900ERs as well, which is the next generation variant, which came before the MAX. NTSB investigator Cruikshanks said, quote, the design enhancement adds 2 pieces of structure to the plug that will prevent it from moving if they are installed correctly. So good news here, but again, I think this might feed into some passengers maybe that have been a little concerned about the safety of this aircraft, and that's something that we reported on earlier this year. Some passengers were saying that they were completely shocked over the incident and completely shocked that Boeing had not really focused on the safety went right past all of those safety checks on the door plug. So this is some good news, and hopefully people will be, assured that moving forward, there really won't be any incident here moving forward and involving the door plugs. But door plugs, as we know, are inactivated depending on the airline and how the seats are the arrangements of the cabin. So I know that the A321neo also has a door plug as well, that some airlines have activated and some airlines have not activated it, just depending on their seating assignment. So it's not just something that we're seeing with the 737 series. Door plugs are also on other aircraft, but this incident, it involves the 737. So moving forward, hopefully we'll see some assurance here, and passengers won't be feeling like they want to avoid flying on the 737 MAX, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, fingers crossed, it really was a sort of freak accident that happened. So it's good that they've kind of got to this point now. I don't have a good segue, so I'm just going to go straight into it. I want to talk about another major incident that happened in the past week, and that starts on Monday evening. Now, on Monday evening, an airspace closure forced Qatar Airways to temporarily suspend operations, with Doha-bound services that were already in the air forced to divert, and aircraft departing from Doha, couldn't do so. So, the suspension only lasted a few hours, but it caused a considerable backlog of disruption at the Doha hub. Now, the closure caused these major disruptions because if Frankfurt closes, it doesn't really cause too much disruption to Qatar because they fly there 3 times a day or so. But, because Qatar is based in Doha, if they can't take off or land, they are... they don't really know where to go. So I wanted to first look about, the diversion points, because I was as terrible as the situation was, I was really enjoying looking at where all of the Qatar planes that couldn't go to Doha were going instead. Now, across all diversion points, Jeddah and Istanbul saw the largest concentration of diverted Qatar flights. Each received at least 9 redirected flights, and that's according to data that we saw from Flight Radar 24. most of the European flights that were heading to Istanbul, that were heading to Doha, ended up in Istanbul, but also several other airports across Turkey, such as QR274 from Amsterdam went to Antalya, QR1380 from Algiers went to Bodrum, and Izmir Airport also handled multiple flights It saw at least 4 diversions from Qatar Airways. Now, many long-haul flights from Asia and Australia, obviously they couldn't go to Istanbul or Turkey because they'd have to overfly Qatar to get there. So instead, a lot of them ended up diverting to India. Bengaluru handled 5 flights. Hyderabad had 3. And Chennai and Ahmedabad also received diverted aircraft. And these were, mostly flights that were already airborne when the closures came into effect. Now, I did see the Qantas flight to Paris had a crazy 15 or 16 hour flight to nowhere because it's such a long flight. When they realized they wouldn't be able to overfly Qatar, they still had enough fuel to get back to their departure point. But a lot of long haul flights, weight is costly, especially from sustainability, from fuel burn, all of that. They really take care of the weight. And, if you get past the halfway point, you probably don't have enough fuel to go all the way back to where you came from. So it makes sense to divert to somewhere en route. Of course, a number of services did return to their departure points mid-flight. QR146 from Barcelona turned back after reaching Turkish airspace. QR150 from Madrid also went back. Several UK flights also returned before they reached the Gulf region. In addition, several flights experienced last-minute diversions or prolonged holding patterns. So, if you take QR194, for example, that was from Brussels and it circled for more than half an hour near Izmir before it eventually landed in Istanbul. QR738 from San Francisco had already reached Qatari airspace when the closure was announced, and then it began holding before ultimately diverting to Daman. And other Middle Eastern airports also took diverted aircraft, and these included Dubai, World Central, Bahrain. Each of these took 2 flights from Qatar Airways. Now, several of the airports that accommodated Qatar Airways diversions also handled redirected flights from other international carriers. Qatari authorities confirmed the reopening of the country's airspace shortly after midnight local time on Tuesday, and operations at Hamad International began to normalize gradually, but knock-on effects of the disruption did continue into the following day. Flight Radar 24 data showed multiple cancellations among scheduled arrivals into Doha, and both Qatar Airways and other airlines had to adjust their operations accordingly. Now, we did speak to one passenger on the ground in Doha on Tuesday, and they described a scene of absolute chaos at the airport. They eventually left the airport to find a hotel with a bed before flying out 2 days later. They said they could have got on a flight a day earlier, but they didn't want to take the risk of the flight not going and not having slept for over 24 hours or whatever it was. But they did tell us that they called the chaos a masterclass in how not to deal with irregular operations. And they told us Qatar Airways has basically given no communication and has offered us nothing. When the airspace originally closed, all the flights just stayed on the board as the times went by without even saying delayed. We actually found out about the situation from texts from friends. Now, somebody else who's also been commenting a lot on this is Badar Mohammed Al-Mir, who is the CEO of Qatar Airways. On Wednesday evening, he issued a statement detailing the events that transpired, the crisis that ensued, and what they've been doing to deal with this. At the time of the airspace closure, he says nearly 100 flights carrying more than 20,000 passengers were en route to Doha. And inside Hamad International Airport, there were more than 10,000 passengers that were caught in the middle of one of the most severe and complex operational challenges in modern aviation history. I guess that sort of likens to the Heathrow fire or the flooding at Dubai airport. But in his statement, he outlined how Qatar Airways teams stepped in to assist passengers. He said, teams from across the airline group stepped into transit areas to assist passengers directly, rebooking journeys, prioritizing medical cases, supporting families and elderly travelers, and manually rebuilding complex travel itineraries, some involving other airlines and expired visas. Over 35,000 meals were distributed, and water, comfort kits, and reassurance were offered face-to-face, flight by flight. Now, for the passengers who were impacted by the airspace closure, Al Mir extended gratitude for their patience and understanding during a time of immense uncertainty and worry, and he added, millions placed their trust in Qatar Airways to carry them across borders, continents, and time zones, and that trust is not taken lightly. It is earned through action, through responsibility, and a readiness to act when it matters most. So, I mean, it looks like Qatar Airways is finally starting to get out of the deep end now. You know, I'm sure there's still some residual stuff that's occurring as we record this podcast on Thursday. But what's your take on it, Channing?
Yeah, I think it's like you mentioned, it's kind of equivalent to something like the Heathrow fire, shutdown. And I think that the airline's response has been exceptional, especially when you have so many passengers, thousands of passengers that are displaced. It's going to take a while for them to get back on track. And I think more than anything, having the CEO, really take on the face of the airline and send that message to the passengers. It's a good look, and probably, offers a little bit of insight into the operation. I think passengers sometimes might not think about, they might just be focused on their flight and where they need to go. But the reality is that, they're not just the only person who's affected by this. Thousands are affected, and even, the crew members as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. And so having a CEO, come on and issue a statement and explain these the process, I think that's great. So
yeah, definitely.
Good news there. Some other good news that some passengers might find interesting, or I guess would find as good news. We're going from Qatar Airways CEO to now Southwest Airlines CEO, and this is a development that I really thought I would maybe never report on, and that is Southwest Airlines considering potential airport lounges, which is so interesting to me because
I don't believe it.
Yeah, right. It's so not Southwest, but I should say that we've kind of seen a lot of things that are not Southwest happening over the past year or so. So in addition to airport lounges, Southwest is also considering premium seating. So I'm not sure if that means recliner seats in first class or maybe potentially lie flat seats as well. The only reason why I say that is because they are also considering long haul international flights. So big story here from Southwest, and this news coming directly from CEO Bob Jordan. In an interview with CNBC, he said, quote, "Whatever customers need in 2025, 2020 or 2030, we will not take any of that off the table. We'll do it the Southwest way, but we're not going to say we would never do that." And he went on to say, "We know we send customers to other airlines because there are some things you might want that you can't get on us. That includes things like lounges, true premium seating, and flying long haul international." So in this quote, I did find it very interesting that he said, "We'll do it the Southwest way." What is the Southwest way now? That some people might be asking that because the carrier really is in the middle of a transformation. Pretty much since July of last year, we have been reporting on a slew of changes that have been happening at the airline. And again, some people are saying that it's really taking it further away from its roots. So with this, true premium class, again, could mean, first class. I'm thinking maybe something like Spirit Airlines, which just renamed its fare bundles. We could see something like the big front seat or things like that. But this also does mean, there's a bigger picture to this, right? So we've got, if we want to do international long haul flying, the 737 MAX 8, can do some international flights. And we did report how Southwest is potentially weighing transatlantic flights to Iceland from 3 U.S. cities, Baltimore, Denver, and Nashville. But if they are considering going to Europe, further into Europe, I think we might need to get a wide body in the fleet, or potentially maybe the A321 XLR, which then a lot of people are raising questions about, would Southwest ever order an Airbus? So there's a lot of moving parts to this development, but I do think airport lounges, that's definitely not Southwest. That would be very, I feel like we would be dealing with a new airline at that point, just because when you think about airport lounges, you think of, the luxury legacy airlines that offer those types of experiences. So really only time will tell if these changes will actually come to fruition. But as we heard from CEO Bob Jordan, Southwest is not taking anything off the table. So what are your thoughts on this, Tom?
I just want to know, if you were doing a long haul European flight with Southwest, would you get a free bag now?
Right? Yeah. It doesn't sound like they would, but I mean, that could be something that would, like, hey, we're going back to our roots. We're flying international, but now we will have you, allow you to have a free check bag.
It'll be interesting to see if that works out, because obviously, a lot of people say the short haul, long distance, not short haul, low cost long haul doesn't really work out. But Southwest is the sort of daddy of the low cost model, so they one would hope they know what they're doing. It's interesting that you mentioned the A321 XLR, because there is another airline that is flying from the US to Europe and the UK with, I think it's just the A321 LR at the moment, and that is JetBlue. Amazing segue, thank you. Now, JetBlue is currently celebrating its 25th anniversary, and it's got a loyalty promotion unlike anything it's offered before. The airline has launched a 25 for 25 challenge, and the name of it doesn't really sound that exciting, but what it could give you is potentially giving a decent loyalty program bonus. So it's meant to be positioned as a thank you to long-term frequent flyers. It was launched on June 25th, and it's open until the end of 2025. Let's start a counter for how many times I say the number 25 in this section, because JetBlue has thought this through. Now, travelers enrolled in TrueBlue can earn tiered rewards by completing qualifying trips to a range of different JetBlue destinations. It reminds me of this 1 million miles thing that SAS was doing. If you travel once with 16 different SkyTeam airlines or whatever it was, and Etihad's doing their mileage challenge now. Flying to 15 destinations is going to earn you 150,000 bonus TrueBlue points. Flying to 20 destinations is going to increase the total bonus to 350,000 TrueBlue points. And travelers who complete trips to 25 different airports within the eligibility window will receive 25 years of Mosaic 1 status in addition to the full bonus points. Now, to qualify, all travel needs to take place between June 25 and December 31, 2025. All members must have a valid TrueBlue number attached to their booking before the flight, and only travel on JetBlue operated flights is eligible. However, basic Blue fares and any codeshare, interline, and other partner airline operated flight bookings do not count. Now, one thing that could be handy to some travelers is that airports are counted individually, and this is even the case in cities with multiple airports. So, if you flew to JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark, each you'd get free of your 25. In addition, connecting flights are also included, and stopover cities qualify regardless of the amount of time spent on the ground. So let's just say you did, I don't even know if this is a JetBlue route off the top of my head, but say you did LAX, JFK, London and back, then you would get free airports. You get LAX, JFK and London. Now, commenting on this, Ed Pouffier, who is the Vice President of Loyalty and Personalization at JetBlue, said, "With 25 for 25, we're celebrating a milestone and inviting our most loyal customers to join the party in a big way. JetBlue's award-winning TrueBlue loyalty program is all about making travel more meaningful and memorable. And this promotion is a thank you to the customers who've helped us reach 25 years of incredible growth. Now, JetBlue has tied the challenge closely to its broader loyalty framework, which was overhauled in 2023. The airline introduced new Mosaic tiers 1, 2, and 3, and 4, a tile-based status system. Under the current rules, members must earn 50 tiles in a calendar year to qualify for Mosaic 1. The tiles are awarded for a combination of travel and spending, and 1 tile earned for every $100 spent on JetBlue flights or every $1,000 spent on JetBlue credit cards. Now, the 25 by 25 challenge bypasses this system entirely and offers long-term elite access through completed flights alone without requiring any minimum spend or card usage. Now, for travelers who already fly JetBlue regularly and visit a mix of destinations across the network, this is a particularly lucrative offer. And in addition, the promotion is also being supported by JetBlue's growing network. The airline recently added destinations such as Madrid in Europe, Traverse City in Michigan, Norfolk in Virginia, and Wilmington in North Carolina, all of which count towards the 25 destination target. They join over 100 existing destinations served by JetBlue across the US, Latin America, the Caribbean, Canada, and Europe. So, Channing, are you going to go after JetBlue status?
Potentially. I will say the Mint service, it really is like one of a kind. It's a great experience. I got to fly transcontinental between Los Angeles and Newark a few years ago, and if I had more of an opportunity to fly to some of their destinations, I would definitely take advantage of it. But yeah, it's a great experience. And for transatlantic service, like that is definitely something that you'll want to go on to have that premium experience. So pretty exciting. And I love that the airlines are doing this. You know, it's great for the frequent flyers to get involved and to boost their status. So great news there.
Definitely. I think it's exciting that I think this is really the year of the airline loyalty challenge, because this is the third crazy challenge we've seen in the past year, and I hope we see more of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go back to Southwest Airlines now. We try to divvy up the stories pretty well in this podcast, but I don't know, Southwest is really making the headlines this week. And I'm not sure if you remember this, Tom, but last year we reported on a really bizarre incident that left flight attendants injured. And so although there have been a plethora of headlines involving unruly passengers threatening other passengers and crew on board in recent years, some Southwest Airlines flight attendants, as we reported, attending to their injuries, have a different story to tell. Nearly 24 crew members have been injured by exploding soda cans during the flights last summer. Southwest said that they were aware of the issue and is working on solutions. And the direction of this story today is that they have found solutions to this. This has really just occurred in really hot cities. So we're talking Las Vegas and Phoenix, where temperatures, are well above 100 degrees, even 110 degrees. And last summer, these planes that were being catered, they had soda cans on board that had just too much pressure because it's so hot. And in flight, they exploded and 20 flight attendants were injured. Now, we have dug into this and realized that Southwest, prior to this year, their catering trucks did not have air conditioning. So these trucks sitting out in the heat, of course, we know how hot your car can get in the heat. So even with air conditioning, you have to have the air conditioning blasting for a little bit before it gets cool. So just imagine, sitting in a truck, and the sun is just blazing on it for hours, and then they get, put on board, and then the pressurization, it just kind of seems like a recipe for disaster. So Southwest has found these new trucks, and the beverages are being kept at 40 degrees, which is some good news there. But yeah, one Southwest Airlines ground worker who oversees the provisioning team at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, told CBS News, quote, "Our summers are extending and that product is under intense heat for longer periods of time." And another person who is a part of the stocking the plane said, once it got up to 105, 110, you started hearing the cans before you even saw them. You could hear them deforming. When it was 115 or 120, half of your stock would be deformed. So yeah, it was bad. And I can only imagine, if you're on board and one of those soda cans explodes, it's, I'm sure maybe even passengers might have been impacted by that as well. This was not a cheap investment by Southwest. It was actually a multi-million-dollar response from the airline. And in addition to these refrigerated trucks, Southwest will also be using heat guns to monitor the beverage can temperatures this summer with the goal of keeping them at room temperature. So very bizarre story, but it is only really, limited to Southwest because Southwest, again, traditionally not a legacy carrier, right? So we could be seeing this moving, into a different direction where they do offer actual meals on board. That might be part of what Jordan was saying with the premium service. But because, they only offer peanuts or maybe not, I don't think they offer peanuts anymore, but pretzels and cookies and drinks, you don't really have a need for a full-on refrigerated truck until last year when the cans were exploding. So this is some good news here, and hopefully we won't have flight attendants be injured anymore. But I should also mention, being a native Arizonan, today, actually 35 years ago was the hottest recorded day in Phoenix at 122 degrees. So that type of heat not only affects in-flight catering, but it also affects airports, and the performance of planes. Phoenix is no stranger to literally having to close down the airport for a few hours because it's just too hot for the planes to land. It could be, a hazard to the tires hitting the hot runway. So a very unique situation here, but doesn't look like it'll be happening anymore, which is good.
Yeah, I can only imagine the chaos that exploding cans can cause on a flight.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that is going to do it for today's podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, and we do welcome any feedback you might have at editorial@simpleflying.com.
For more great content, you can visit our website at simpleflying.com or find us on social media. Simply search for Simple Flying.
And if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a rating on your favorite podcast player. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles and a podcast every week. Visit simpleflying.com.